All right, everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have one of our favorite guests, Joseph Blackman from Vitendo Trading Solutions. And Joseph is just a wealth of knowledge. We always have great conversations, and I always look forward to I'd probably have him on every week if we could, because I enjoy chatting with him that much. All right, so we're going to talk about AI in utilities, especially focused on small utilities today. And it's a trending topic, so let me bring Joe on here. And thanks for coming on again, Joe. We've been chatting a little bit about AI and utilities, and you do general utilities and public utilities. I'm mainly focused on the water sector, but we always have good conversations. And
Always.
you talk to so many people. I'm looking at your videos on LinkedIn, and it's amazing the number of people you talk to. But before we get going, for people that haven't seen you on here before, tell us a little bit about what you do and your trading solutions, and
Sure.
really then we'll start talking about the AI aspect, because
Sure.
it's a big deal for people these days, and it's changing so rapidly.
Yeah. And Tom, thanks for having me on. Again, I think we could do a show every week and it'd be a good show for the both of us. And yeah, I would say our niches cross a little bit, but it's one of those things that you and I are both like-minded individuals. We want to help out the space. We want to help out the community. We want to add value. And going into Vitendo Training Solutions. So my main focus in life is to get knowledge from the people who have it to the people who want it. Meaning, we all know about the silver tsunami. People are leaving this industry in droves, and we don't have enough people to backfill this industry. And I think that we should truly be able to hire for attitude and train for skill. But how do you do that in practice? And that's where I came up with Vitendo Training Solutions. I explain it the same way to everybody every time. If you've ever been on YouTube to watch a video on how to fix or operate something that you own, that is what I come out and create for a utility or for a city or for a department or for an agency. So all those best practices, all those how-tos, all that institutionalized knowledge, all that tribal knowledge, I put it on video, put it in some software, and now you can use that to train the new guy, or you can use it as like a refresher if you forget something over time, or if you just want to keep your sword sharp. And that's what Vitendo Training Solutions is. And pretty much with that foundation of getting knowledge from people who have it to the people who want it, that's what I start to create around that kind of an ecosystem. And that's where I came up with this AI idea. And yeah, I'm eager to get it in more people's hands and see where it can go.
All right, let me just move down here. I'm sorry, I'm halfway blind here, but since I had my cataract surgery, it's one of those things about being an old guy. But so the glasses have to go on and off again. But yeah, AI is really changing things, and I'll tell you what, I use AI a lot, and it is hard to keep up with the changes. And so we've gotten to the point where even my niche is really water utilities. There are less than 3,000 connections, so the smaller guys. I'm sensitive to, most of the time, these folks are going to be resource constrained, either staff or financially or both, most likely.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how do you help these guys take an advantage of the AI revolution that's really out there? And I think it's becoming within reach of everybody. It's how do you use this powerful tool that's right at your fingertips? So what are you seeing out there in the way of trends on this?
I think the first hurdle we need to clear is to get people to be okay with trying it out. I get it. Like when things are new, things are tech, things are computer, in the government space, in the public utility space, they're scared to click on any link they're scared to click on it because we hear cybersecurity attacks, ransomware, all this crazy stuff that happens on the internet that people aren't really privy to. And I think we need to just say it's okay to use AI to do what you do on the daily. And I like to just offer some anecdotes of little things you can do to use AI. The main one is crafting an email. It could be a tough email telling a contractor or telling a salesman, hey, we don't want to do business with you anymore. Or, hey, you keep putting all these change orders. You keep nickel and diming us. We want to squash that. And sometimes it's hard for us to think of a way to craft that email. So maybe you type it in a chat GPT and say, hey, make this seem more pleasant. You type out your whole email, you copy and paste it in chat GPT and say, make this sound more pleasant. And chat GPT will give you a more pleasant email to go with. Another thing, job descriptions. A lot of cities, a lot of agencies, they have the same cookie cutter job descriptions they probably have for the last 10 years. Maybe they want to spice it up a little bit. Maybe they just want to take a 2-page job description and make it into a 2-paragraph summary that they could put on LinkedIn or on a job board somewhere. So you can take a 2-page job summary, paste it into ChatGPT and say, make this 5 sentences. And it'll make 5 sentences out of that. And those are some easy ways you can dip your toe in without having to get too deep into it. But the main thing is be open to it, but use try to find little ways, like little equity ways you can hop into it, dip your toe into it to learn AI before you start diving into the deep end, like kind of you and I do.
All right. So, how about for things like best management practices and SOPs?
Sure.
Are you seeing people generate those with AI and improving? I'm big on processes, and I think it's really important for especially small utilities. They tend to be still a lot of paper based, and so by standardizing things, you can really improve that flow and make the most efficient use of your limited staff time. So, what are you seeing in terms of people generating and then putting into their knowledge base the SOPs and the BMPs?
Sure. If you talk to most utilities, most departments, they have SOPs. SOPs are a PDF. Sometimes they're printed out. Sometimes they're like where they need to be at or accessible for the guys. But I'll say most cities have these. But then I think of the accessibility to it. Like how easy is it for that new operator to find the SOP for a certain process? He probably has to go into his manager's office, which is probably locked, look on a bookshelf where everything's dusted over, it's got a 1/4 inch thick layer of dust on it, and then find that operations manual or that SOP for that process he's going to use. And when he opens up that operations manual, I don't think I have any here, but it can be about 1.5 inches thick, sometimes 2 inches thick. He's trying to find one thing. He doesn't want to have to search through everything, start at the table of contents, and browse through a piece of the book. He wants to be able to find exactly what he wants. And so that's where I came up with the idea. You mind if I share my screen?
Sure.
Came up with is the process of using an AI chatbot to be able to get exactly the answer that you need. So what I like to display once we get to it, which is okay, take your time. But if you type something in on ChatGPT and ask a question, right? You ask, what's a math equation for how many gallons of water is in a 6-inch pipe for 300 yards? And it'll actually give you the answer to that at the top there. Yep. And then I'll talk you through it.
All right.
Okay. So what I did was I created the industry's first public works specific AI chatbot, meaning I trained it on probably 180 documents so far, meaning white papers on water, wastewater, streets, asphalt, pavement, engineering, like all these different best practices documents and white papers and PDFs, even some ebooks. I trained it in there. And then what I did was I used Facebook as a testing ground, and I sent it to a couple guys or a couple forums on Facebook. And there's already been 1,300 conversations on this chatbot so far. And so what guys are asking is they ask math questions, they ask processes questions, they ask certain soft skills questions. So it's interesting how people are using this AI chatbot. And I play ask it a question, type in something about groundwater, or like you said, 3,000 connections or less, something that a question you might get from a circuit rider or somebody out there who's working in that type of operation.
Okay. How about if we say something about how do we test a water well for coliform bacteria? Would that work?
Perfect. Let's see what it comes up with. And I always tell guys, like, try to stump it. It's in the beta version. And I say, try to stump it. You know?
There you go. So select a testing kit, collect a sample. Nice.
Sample process. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, did that even get you in the ballpark being a 1, or was it a 10 of a dead nuts answer?
This is good. Avoided preparation, very important for testing for coliform. What I don't see is, for instance, where you like some people actually go in and sterilize the sample port. This is pretty darn good because it's giving you, this is basically like an SOP right here. in your hands.
And this is
So,
and I created this because I want this to be in the back pocket of every operator, every engineer, every person in the field who might have this question. They
yeah,
might have a question of, man, I forgot how to do this, or my boss told me to do this, and I'm unclear on it. And now they can at least have more educated questions when they go back to do the process or ask their boss more questions. So this is something that will never be behind a paywall. I don't charge people for this, but I want to continue to train it and make it sharper and sharper so people can use this all day, every day. Instead of going to Chat
right.
GPT and getting the bland answers, this actually gives you the bibliography of a document that it pulled this
Right.
answer from. It says
And the
Kansas
link is
Department
right
of
there.
Health.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the link's right there if they want to dive deeper into it. So I'm training this to be that back pocket best buddy, that AI chatbot of all the questions that they might have.
Sure. And so this is going to be, I got some examples of custom GPTs and stuff. And generally, though, it's interesting that you got as many documents in there as you did because, like doing a custom GPT or things on Claude or things like that, some of these AIs, is
Yeah.
that they limit you to 50 documents.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you were able.
I can put thousands and thousands of documents in there. I just have to take the time to actually do it. And then a lot of the documents have overlap. Like I took the top 2 wastewater books that are PDF form. It's like 800 pages each.
Right.
And when I load those into them, it takes half a night to do it. But now it's trained on those industry canonical wastewater books, and now somebody can use that. So I personally, when I offer Vitendo to somebody, if they have an operations manual, if they have their own internal SOPs for, let's say, the city of Gotham, they have their own way of doing something. They have their different piece of equipment. They have a certain way that Gotham operates. I will take all of City of Gotham's documents, train their personal Chat GPT for that, for their own chatbot for that. And now one of their operators, if he's out in the field, he can say, hey, how do I measure a fire hydrant? So now it knows exactly what fire hydrants the city of Gotham has. And now it will give them the answer for that. And then also with the video that we shot of measuring that fire
Right.
hydrant. So this thing could be tailored to any specific application, any different utility, and so forth.
So this is your general use one, but you will build up custom ones with custom database. And now for people who are keeping track of the terminology, this is generally referred to as resource augmented generation or RAG. And so you're using your own database. You're not going out and searching the web because that's where people get into like AI hallucinations where you're getting wrong answers. But if you specifically tie it to a database of reliable documents and that's all you're searching, now you're going to get a lot more reliable answer in AI rather than just searching the web. And it's blending everything together and you can get erroneous answers. Now it's getting better with some of these deep reasoning models out there, but it's still blending these large language models. They're blending all this information. So let's face it, it's the web. There's wrong information out there. So if you go to a RAG type database, a RAG AI, then you're going to get a lot better information. So you're building these specifically for Big Mountain Water District out there that has their own equipment, all their SOPs, owner manuals, and things like that. You'll go in and you'll do the videos, and then you'll also load these things in and build them the custom database.
Yeah,
All right.
just even SOPs on like how to take time off, meaning how much time off they're allocated, all the HR stuff they might want to know, how many vacation days they get. Because again, a new employee might be there for 3 months and you've never had that question of like, wait, how do what's the difference between a sick day and a vacation day or a PTO? He might have that question. And if I could take all their AR or HR documents, train their GPT on it, and now he can get the exact answer for that, let's say, Big Water Mountain District.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and I think we've chatted about this a little bit, is there might be a couple different approaches. You could do one big RAG database, AI database for the company that incorporates HR, operations, and things like that. Do you find you get better answers if you narrow it down, say, we got one that's devoted just to HR, one that's just devoted to asset management? Do you see any difference in those? And this is really a question I'm struggling with because I've been building things that are a little more something real specific to like asset management, where I'm
Yeah.
loading it up with real specific asset man, but it's not covering anything outside that. So you end up with multiple databases. What are your thoughts
I
on that?
so I would, and again, like I would take let's say the big one, this Public Works AI, right? This is trained on tons of best practices, tons of advice, all that knowledge in the industry. I would use the foundation for this, but also add, let's say I'm doing for Big Mountain Water District. All of the what's in this GPT right now would also be in the Big Mountain Water District, but I would go to Big Water Mountain District and add in all of their personal documents, all their specific documents. So now Big Mountain Water District versus Sunnyside Coastal Water District, they wouldn't see each other's content. But of course,
Right.
they would have all the same information on the generalized stuff. As of yet, I haven't seen any issues with, let's say you had your own HR chatbot versus your own asset management chatbot versus your own fleet chatbot, because it does a great job of finding keywords and then giving you the content that you exactly want. Yeah, I haven't had any red flags that came up where a guy says, "Hey, I searched for this. It gave me the answer for a whole nother department." But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that will happen in the future. And of course, you would need guys to use discernment. That's why there's always disclaimers on it. But I do think that this is a way to, again, somebody who's zero, who's at a competency level of zero, he can get in the game and ask better questions than just being stuck with the knowledge that he has.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. It's just a question that's come up to me. And I wanted to show real quick, just if I can go back over here to ChatGPT, for instance.
Yep.
There's a number of ways to approach it. These are all custom GPTs over here.
Now,
ChatGPT, like
explain
Claude.
the custom GPTs for everybody who doesn't know.
Custom GPT is something, and let me just bring one up here. And this one is real specific to, so this is how it's set up. This is what you'll see if you bring up the custom GPT. If you're going to set it up, you can create this from scratch, but let me just go in and edit this one so you can see how it's set up. It'll actually generate you a little logo for you name it, you give a description, this is just for you, and then you go in and you give it a set of instructions. And these should be pretty detailed. You want to tell what the task is, you want to tell it what his role is, utility expert, and you want to give it the tone. It needs to be explanatory. So you're going to lay all that stuff out here. And then you're doing conversation starters. And so these are just things over here where it just gives you can just click on this, it'll automatically give you an answer. And then the knowledge base is here.
Yep.
You can upload documents. In this case, this is very specific to, I call it systematic utility management. It's effective utility management is what the EPA training calls it. And we've uploaded a bunch of EPA documents here that are really specific to that overall arching management of a water utility, for instance. And then you can determine whether you want it to do web search or just limit it to these documents. You can do Canvas, which is a conversational thing, and you actually generate images here. You can create action here. That would actually be if you wanted to link it to your website like you have on yours, so using Zapier or something like that. So that's what it looks like here. If you
Answer this for me. What do you envision? Like, how would you offer this to a small utility management, person or system? Would you give it to them and say, "Hey, just check it out"? Would you say, "Hey, embed this on your intranet," or give this to everybody that's an operator? What are your thoughts?
there's ways of doing, you can, on a custom GPT, you can make it, I believe, no, you can set it up to either be public or private. And so private is actually, if you have the actual link to it, it's not just out there. Public GPT is going to be available to anybody that's searching. If we went back to your list of GPTs here, you can click this tab and it's going to bring up all these available custom GPTs that people have written that are available to the public. So you can see there's a lot of them. Now, I would, if I was doing things internally, there is the projects, which is another way to do this that can be used internally. Same type of thing, except it's keeping track of all your conversations in here too. You can upload the project files and the instructions. I got some simple ones here. This is just one I created just for looking at cybersecurity issues. And I'm thinking that a project may be a better way to go for an actual utility if you're looking at real specific areas. If you're looking at general access, then a custom GPT may be the way to go. If you wanted to attach actions to it where you're going out and linking to Zapier and embedding it on websites, a custom GPT might be a better way to go. So there's a number of options out there.
Yeah.
Let's look at Claude, which is another AI model. They have projects too. Let's see. Here's some of my projects here. Say, preventive maintenance for water utilities. We were just exploring this, and I got same approach. You're uploading documents. Yeah. You can actually, in Claude, you can actually link Google Drive documents. So
beautiful.
So that's nice. You can link to your entire Google Drive and go from there. But if I was going to get real specific, and let me show you this, there's a tool that I like to use called Pickaxe. And
never heard of it.
Okay, this really allows you to dial in things. So you can create what they call pickaxes here. And there's a number of ways to do this. You can do it as a form, you can do it as a chat, or you can have AI build you one. But I'll just show you real quick how, without actually building one, what it looks like, because this allows you to more fine-tune control over your custom AI database than you would get within ChatGPT or Claude or something like this. Because here you go in, you define your role, you define the model, and you can see you got ChatGPT, you go the OpenAI API calls, DeepSeek, Mistral, Claude, Llama, which is a perplexity thing. So you can choose a bunch of different models. You describe your role here. You can allow the users of this to upload files.
Oh, beautiful.
So for instance, on this one, you can upload a picture of, say, a piece of equipment, and it'll correctly identify that and tell you basically what it is and things like that. So this is where you can tie your videos to that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the introductions, you can add intro messages. You can
So let's say I like the functionality of allowing users to upload files. Let's say there's a utility and they had, let's say the HR lady wanted to upload her HR documents. Let's say the facilities guy wanted to upload his documents and SOPs. Let's say the operations guy wanted to upload his, the electrician guy. So they all can upload their documents into one GPT and then find what they need in the future.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see the other use cases for this pickaxe or how it works.
There's a number of ways to do it. Like I say, you can actually generate PDFs from here, custom PDFs, but you can upload files and query that particular file even as part of the database if you got something new. So that's part of the setup. That I think is an important one. But here's where it gets even more interesting is you can go in and you can choose a profile image. You can do placeholder text, but now you can dial in the maximum output, the input, memory buffers. You can make it public, unlisted, private, make it clonable. You can go in and add a training dialogue. So this is what you want the answer to look like. And even when we all know how creative ChatGPT can get, you can go in and you can adjust the level of creativity here.
Yeah.
And you can also, and we know how ChatGPT can be exuberant. It likes using certain words like unlocked and revealed, and you can change your word bias here as well. Yeah. So try to use these words, try to avoid these words, and not be quite so exuberant. And then here's where we upload our knowledge base too, and then you can fine tune it even more. How relevant does this particular document need to be? How much information it pulls from each document? You can even actually put in context, something that to help fine tune the AI. And then lastly, we can do things like you can connect it to Zapier. These are some actions. You can generate PDFs. So you can actually pull up your answer and generate a PDF that you can print out and take out with you. And so
Nice.
change it to, so there's, this is just an example here. If we go back, you can even just go to this one and you can just add in, basically build it just by answering a series of questions here and build your own stuff. I like
Yeah,
that.
what's that form functionality? What's that about?
Form creates an actual form that you're filling out. So it's similar to the chat bot, but as you can see, but you're actually filling out a form.
Okay.
So it's not quite as free form. It's not chat. The chat, as opposed to the form, is you're filling out a form and answering questions there. And the chat is more like what we're used to in Chat GPT, where you're putting stuff in and asking questions. But
Gotcha.
what you're doing then, what this allows you to do is not only train the AI on your own documents, but also to configure what kind of answer, the format of the answer, how creative you want it to be, and basically to give the information and make it more useful for you. And we're seeing more of this stuff. This is one example of something I use, a tool I use, but it's really something that we can look at. And as we go back to yours here, it's giving you the same stuff, but you can then kind of dial things in a little bit. And I don't know if it would make much difference in the answers or not, but you can make it very specific. And we're seeing more of this stuff coming out. It's hard to keep up.
How do you keep up with it? Are you reading publications? Are you getting Google alerts? Like, how do you keep up with what's going on AI?
It's interesting. I do a lot of YouTube videos, and you can spend all your time just watching YouTube videos. But there's some specific people that I found are reliable, that here's the latest and greatest, and they're going out doing that for you. But actually, ChatGPT now has that task function. I basically have it run every week, some news articles or what's the latest and greatest on AII, and you fine tune that. And then Monday morning pops up on your desktop a list of what's hot in AI right now. So
Interesting. Yeah. You know what's funny? I remember when ChatGPT came out and it didn't have any answers for anything more recent than like 2021 or something, 2023. It was funny because like you couldn't get real time, up to date information, and now look at where we're at now. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And where are the tasks?
Yeah, I'd like to figure out the task because I use Google Alerts for a lot of things that I'm interested in. But if ChatGPT could find it, that'd be cool also.
Yeah, where is the
And then what's this deep research everybody's talking about?
deep research? Actually produces on the pro plan, or I'm on the not the pro plan. The pro plan's $200 a month, so that's a little rich for my blood. But so you can run on my plan is the professional plan, I think, or no, I don't remember what plan I'm on. Anyway, you can run the deep research, and it really does. It reasons things out, and it walks you through the steps while it's looking at things, and then allows you to fine tune it along the way, and gives you all the references. But it shows you the process, the thought process as it's going through. Now, on mine, I get 10 a month, and I think you're unlimited on the pro plan, but I'm not sure $200 a month is worth that. But you know, that if you were really doing some research on a specific topic, then that's good. Otherwise, the regular search engine is probably going to do good. And I'm looking to see where they moved the tasks. And it used to be up here. Huh. Yeah, I guess ChatGPT is, I didn't even notice this before. You can now add from Google Drive on ChatGPT too. Huh. Where did tasks go? See, these are my custom GPTs.
Okay.
But
Even like I would say an entry level GPT would be like these city websites have a ton of information on them. What if
Right.
they made a GPT of all the information on their website? So when somebody came to the website, they could ask the chat bot, "Hey, what's the number to call for bulk trash
Right.
pickup?" Or "What's
Yeah.
the number to call if I see a if I'm gonna dig?" Or whatever.
Exactly. Instead of looking through a
Simple.
phone directory on the website that is never useful,
Yep.
or what are my most recent water quality data for the
Yep.
water utility, things
Yep.
like
Or
that.
what bids are out for, let's say, heavy civil construction, or what projects are happening on this street in my city. You
Yeah.
know.
And you can set it up to specifically search the website of the utility and nothing more. So you could set up
Yep.
a custom GPT to do that. And now you got your customer service functionality taken care of because people can just
Boom.
type in the question. And instead of searching through endless web pages but never finding the information, because we all know that frustration, now you can just,
Exactly.
yeah, so you can set it up that way. So there are so many possibilities here. It's just amazing to me. And
How are you using it with your business? How are you using it, deploying it with being the groundwater guy and with your service?
I use a lot of the deep research and I use the tasks. And I wish I could figure out where it went here because I'm not seeing it. It used to be right here, but they've moved it somewhere, and I'm going to have to find that. But I use it a lot to do research. I'm setting up mine are real specific to certain topics because we have a mastermind we're putting together, and so I'm setting up a specific GPT for each aspect of that mastermind. Say asset management, say capital improvement plans, say TMF requirements. Then we got something real specific there that we can access as we go along. But after our conversation here, maybe we want to look at just consolidating them all into one. But I do it a lot for the training too, the modules, and then finding out the latest and greatest tracking trends. But where I'm looking now is how can, and this is requiring a little investigation, but focusing on this particular task of predictive maintenance. How can we take our data that we have, and we've talked about this before, a lot of our utilities, the water utilities are notorious for this. You get all this data in, you look at it over, you throw it in a file, and you never look at it again. What a waste of
Yep.
money. You can put it into your database, and now you can do trends, stuff like producing KPIs, predictive maintenance. You can do risk analysis for your asset management plan, look at criticality. And so I'm looking right now at trying to get an AI together to do predictive maintenance for small water utilities. And boy, what a boost that would be. You got limited staff time. Now you can just plug things into an AI database and you can come up with a plan for dealing with asset replacement and when things might fail, and really what a boon for that.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
are-
It
what are
takes
your
the
thoughts on all
guesswork out
that?
of. I No, I like it because so when you buy a car, it has a counter on it of like when you should change the oil, and it could be like set at 4,000 miles, and you
Right,
think, where do they get that data from? That's because they sold thousands and thousands of other cars, and usually at that 4,000 mark is when you probably should change your oil. So that's an artificial intelligence. Why not have that for your wastewater treatment facility? Why not
exactly.
know when your clarifier is going to go bad, when this pump is going to go bad, how much more effluent you're going to get in the winter, what kind of algae you're going to see if it's this hot for this many days out of this pond. Like it'll give you that because you already have the data looking in the
Right,
back, and you can
right.
connect the dots looking backwards to predict the future. So I do think it'll be powerful, but the problem is I think we just have to set it up for people. I know there's a couple companies out there working on something similar to that, taking the data that a facility already has and then predicting the future with
Right,
it. But
right.
if you can enable a guy to take his last 15 years worth of documents, upload them into a GPT, and he can ask the question, so what should I do next? And it gives him an answer. he's a happy
Right.
camper.
And a lot of the companies doing this are really focusing on the really big utilities out there because
Yeah,
that's where the money is. The people that really need the help are the smaller one, which is my area of focus. But if we can be a trusted advisor to them and walk them through that, set it up for them, think of the cost savings. What little they spend on a little bit of consulting time is going to pay off in spades in the time they save. And increasing the efficiency of their operation.
yeah.
So I don't see this as putting people out of work. I see it as really enhancing. They're already short of staff. It's
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if we talk about, because I just got back from Utah Rural Water Conference. It's rural water. You
saw
speak
your
the language
videos.
also.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, and they're understaffed, they're under budget. Instead of them having to pay an engineering firm half of their budget just to figure this stuff out, they could pay Thomas to come out. Let's say he has 10 consulting hours built into it. Now they can operate moving forward without spending that $200,000 on whatever. And now they can hire somebody an operator, to actually do those tasks instead of having to sub it out to an engineering firm again. So I do think that this doesn't necessarily take away jobs. It adds space or adds money back into your budget for you to be able to find more tasks for your operators to do. There's nothing worse when an operator tells you, like, hey man, they let me go because there wasn't enough work for me. Like, with these tasks and this type of predictive maintenance, there's going to be plenty of work for you.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I don't think anybody ever said, at least in the water utilities I work with, is that nobody's ever let go because there's not enough work.
Yeah.
It's like
Maybe on the street side.
yeah, it's kind of the biggest problem really out there is deferred maintenance because you just don't have time or budget to get to it. But now if you can recapture some of that time and some of that budget, now your capital improvement planning process looks a little better because we can do this deferred maintenance and not have all these unexpected line leaks and things like that. So I really see it as a revolution for a lot of smaller utilities, just able to keep up with things that they haven't been able to in the past.
Sure. And then how good does a director or supervisor look when he can go to his board and say, this is what we're going to be faced with in the next 2 years. And it gives them a clear plan of what's going to happen, what it's going to look like. And you can say, I need the budget for this. I'm not just shooting from the hip anymore. I actually have data.
Right. Based on our failure rates in the past, we can now predict that this valve is going to fail within 2 years and we're going to need a budget to replace it. Boy,
Boom.
what? Yeah, boom. Yeah. That's huge, I think. And I don't see anybody losing their jobs over this. I see it just being able to be more efficient. And
the people that are losing their jobs, I hate to say it, are those in the positions that don't necessarily, I would say, make the needle move. Like a lot of graphic designers. Canva came out and a lot of graphic designers got put out of business. Is Canva AI? No, but it's a more efficient way to operate. SCADA came around, and I get it. Like, SCADA is something that a lot of people actually did, but since SCADA came around, it can put people out of a job. But I do think if you're competent at what you do, you'll always land on your feet.
And you got to embrace the trend and not fight it because it's going to happen anyway. So figure out how to take advantage of it.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
All right. I think we've
covered a lot.
We've covered a lot, but we've really scratched the surface in a lot of ways. But I really appreciate your insights. Any final words on AI in utilities? I mainly talked about water utilities. There's a lot of other possibilities out there as well.
Yeah, I'd say don't be afraid of it. One, don't be afraid of AI. Two, if you have operators out there, if you're in the field, if you need help with answers, go to my website, vitendo.us, go to the AI tab and ask away. Ask all the questions you need. Even if you need a custom GPT written for yours, just reach out to Thomas or myself. I can tell we're willing to help those who want the help. But yeah, I always say, try to use my chatbot, try to stump it, because I want to build this thing to be so robust that everybody in our industry has it in their back pocket and they can rely on it.
Yeah, and let me go back to your website there and show people what it looks like. Here's your main website. It's right up here, your Public Works AI. Give it a shot. And if they want to get a hold of you, your contact information is on there. Yeah. Here's a contact form right on the front page.
Yeah.
You're doing great things out there. I think and your knowledge, your personal knowledge, I think you're your own AI.
I'm trying to get there, man. Again, like when I got into this industry, there was a lot of things I didn't know, and I wish I could have an AI chatbot or even like a repository of video content to be able to look at and go, okay, I'm now dangerous enough to ask more intelligent questions and get out there in the
Yeah,
field.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I will put your contact information up here. And Joseph, until we talk next time, which I'm sure will not be long. We have so much to talk about. I appreciate your knowledge, and I'll put your contact information up. And thanks so much for joining in this discussion. And I'll have to edit out the technical difficulties and go from there. We'll get this posted up.
Hopefully, I didn't give you too much work to do. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Joseph. You have a great weekend.
Yep.
Bye now.
Likewise. All right, bro.
All right. Let's look at this. There we go. This is the contact information for Joseph Blackman with Vitendo Training Solutions. If you want to get a hold of him, he is really an incredible wealth of knowledge because he talks to so many people, and you can see the work he's doing, setting these things up and really building that knowledge base, which is so important in these days when so many people are retiring out of the utility industries, that retaining that knowledge is important. If you're interested in that, Joseph is your man with Vitendo Training Solutions. He'll fix you right up, and you will have that knowledge in-house. You can bring people in, you can get them trained up very easily with his solutions, so highly recommended. All right, that is our show. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.